Hello, guys, and welcome to another episode of All Out with Anshum Kathuria. For today's guest, we've got Charli Wroe. Hello, Charli. How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm very good. So, just to give everyone a brief introduction, Charli is a basketball player. You've played for Great Britain and England teams
Yes.
ever since under 14 up till under 20.
Yes.
And right now, you're playing in the United States as a student athlete. And you play point guard position.
Yes.
Okay, so now with the basic intro out of the way, how you doing?
I'm good. Thank
How's
you.
it being back in Sheffield?
It's great. I've not been back here in like 2 years. So since I last seen you, so I do love the city. Don't love the weather though, but I am happy to be back. Happy to be back home.
It was raining this morning, and
Yeah.
I'm just trying to get out of bed thinking, oh, we have a recording today, and that's all. But I saw you 2 years ago when we did a feature piece for one of my college assignments. How have you been ever since?
I've been good. Still playing basketball. Still studying hard. You know, not much has changed. Just I've moved across the other side of the world.
How's that?
do
How's
that.
how's that going? Because you're from Manchester, and you've lived in Manchester how long? Like,
For like 18 years. Then I was in Sheffield for 1 year.
so you're here just for a year, and then you dropped out,
Yeah.
and now you're in the States studying.
Yes.
You're doing the same course.
Yeah, just doing psychology. I did criminology and psych at Sheffield, but I'm just doing psychology now.
So what is it that fascinates you towards that?
I just think understanding people, why they behave the way they do, and I'm hoping to go into a master's in sports psychology, so I can still work with athletes even if, you know, my basketball career is over. I still have the opportunity to work, you know, in that sector and stuff like that.
I think for me, because I have played sports since like I was very young, I would play any sport. I was big into cricket. I'd play football. And when I'm with my friends in a park nearby the house, we'd play any sport. And I have watched sports coverage non-stop ever since I got to know what YouTube is. And athletes have been something that have fascinated me a lot. And you're one yourself. You've played for the country. You have played for clubs in the UK, in the US. What would you tell me, as being an athlete and as someone who's also studying psychology, what are the challenges that come with being an athlete? If you could put some light on that.
I think managing your studies with basketball is always a challenge, especially when you're in season, you're on the road a lot, you miss a lot of classes, and it's on you. You have the responsibility to catch up, get yourself back on track. Okay, the teachers and professors may help you, but it's really up to you to catch up with that content. So I think just time management is one of the big difficulties. And also, like, you're on the roads, you've got 2 practices a day, you've got your classes, you've got to do your rehab and stuff like that. So, you know, make sure you're eating the right stuff, you're getting the right nutrition. And when you're eating at the cafe at school, it's not always the best. You know, you've got your pizzas and your burgers and your chips and stuff. So it's make sure that you're actually really looking after yourself, because you do dedicate a lot of your time to other stuff, but making sure that you're giving it back to yourself as well.
How are you finding the American portion sizes?
Insane.
Is it?
I get a medium and it's like an extra large. It's crazy. But they just have a lot of fast food, you know, fried food, so it's not the best.
Because when I met you the last time, I had initially met you while I was covering the university game, and I saw you play, and you were obviously fantastic. And then I had reached out to you for the assignment, as I just mentioned. But at that time, you told me that you don't go out, you don't like going out for drinking or just like in the club. And you're making your meals. Is that what is it something you're still doing, or how's it going
Over the
now?
past 2 years, we have like a cafeteria on campus, so you just go and eat there. But you only eat 3 times a day, and sometimes, you know, you might get hungry. So it is going to the supermarket, cooking for yourself. You know, you do have kitchens in your dorms or your apartments and stuff. So not as much as Sheffield. I was cooking for myself every single day, which was a lot. But I still do it when I'm in the States, just not as much.
Now coming back to the psychology part of things, obviously you've mentioned the time management, because for an athlete to stay sharp, and because you're playing basketball, it's a sport that requires a lot of skill, and your position per se, specifically being a point guard, Is it that because you're practicing, how many sessions are you doing per week?
So every day we'll have a team practice. Then we might have individual workouts or like guard workouts, big workouts. And then they also expect you to go into the gym by yourself as well, get shots up, lift by yourself in the weight room. So probably at least 2 times a day.
So you're training 2 times a day, every day of the week?
Yeah.
Or how, do you get any days off, or do you take...
So for pre-season, it's usually every day of the week. During the season, you'll get 1 rest day. And workouts are a bit lighter because, you're just doing like opposition prep and like scout and stuff. And the practices may only be an hour and a half compared to 2 hours. So the load is lighter. The weight room sessions is more, maintenance lifts and stuff, and ankle strengthening, knee strengthening to sort of like reduce the chances of getting injuries. But yeah, it is a bit lighter than normal.
So this is the pre-season that you're telling me,
Yeah.
just trying to keep the muscle mass up and all of that. It's such a constant thing because if you stop doing either your skill workouts or your strength training, I'm pretty sure it reflects on the court.
Yes, definitely.
How that, like, just by the sound of it, it just requires so much discipline.
Yeah.
And it's, even after so much discipline, you'll go and have a bad game. You'll have a game where someone just overpowers you and you come in the room and you're humble, like completely humble. Talk to me about that in terms of the psychology aspect that we were just touching upon. That because you have such constant practice, you're not going out, you're not having fun, you're not drinking Pepsi or anything, and you have to do these things on a daily. What is it that pushes you to stay at it, if I may ask?
Yeah, I think it's just believing in your talent, in your ability, that even if you do have a bad game or a bad practice or something, that it's bound to happen. You're not going to be perfect every single day. You will have your off days, your off shooting days. But like, it's just the belief in yourself that I got the talent that brought me here. And if I am working out every single day, I can't not be getting better. Like, if I'm putting in that work, it will show and reflect, and not to let one bad game ruin your confidence or anything like that.
But do you have those days where you feel like you don't want to do it?
Sometimes it can be a bit overwhelming, when you have your 6 a.m. workouts and you're just like, why am I doing this? But it is for the bigger picture, the bigger purpose. Like, you have got to do that stuff, and the other people around you, the other opposition on the other teams, they're going to be doing the same stuff. So if you slow down, they're still getting better. So I think in the back of your mind, knowing that other people who are fighting for your spot or going to be playing against you and wanting to beat you, they're getting better. So you want to do the same.
What would you suggest is the part of being a point guard that you enjoy the most personally?
I think you have a lot of leadership and like a big responsibility on the team. Like, everyone looks up to you. You sort of like control the tempo, and essentially what goes on, you're like a coach on the court. So I think just having that responsibility and other people look up to you or come to you for guidance and stuff, which is, it kind of makes it worthwhile all the practice and stuff.
No, because I have seen you play and you're like insanely fast. You're very, very agile, very fast. You don't stop, you don't slow down. So it obviously reflects that you're always in great shape. But is it like explosive workouts that's helping you do it, or what sort of stuff is it?
I think it's a bit of both, like endurance training and explosive workouts. Obviously, basketball is a quick game. It also helps having a quick first step, but it's also very much up and down. So it's okay being explosive, but to keep on going the duration of the game, do lots of like runs and stuff, 5Ks, 8K runs, just to like sort of keep that endurance up.
You must have trained because you have, as far as I remember, you were 8 years old when you got into basketball. You've probably trained over 14, 15 years now. What's the longest time you've had off from training?
Probably just through injury, maybe like 3 months at most. But apart from that, it's very non-stop. Even when the season finishes, then you have post-season workouts, and then over the summer, you don't really get to rest because you've got to keep yourself in shape for when you go back, and then it's pre-season. So really, it's a year-round sport of just making sure you're in shape and getting better. There's not really any break that you're allowed.
Is it for you ever that even without basketball or any aspect of basketball that you just like to train, that maybe just go on a run or lift
Yeah.
without having basketball as a center point of it?
Yeah, I do love the gym, you know, staying in shape, getting stronger. I enjoy running. My brother has a run club. My brother's also a personal trainer, so it's sort of hard not to be involved in that, you know, sports sort of runs through our family. So you can't not do it, essentially. So it's not just basketball that I enjoy doing. I do love going to the weight room and stuff.
Talk to me more about the family aspect of it. How was it that you got into basketball?
So my dad coached basketball, and my brother also played basketball from a young age. So sort of like watching him and just being around that environment, I sort of got into basketball. So then I was playing in like an all boys league, because it wasn't just really popular for girls, especially at such a young age. So I just started in the boys league, stayed in that for maybe like 5 years, and then I went to like Manchester Mystics, which was like just an all girls program in Manchester.
How was that transition for you, going from playing with boys to just going to this all girls club? How was that like personally?
I think it helps a lot with my physicality and stuff, because, you know, guys are stronger, quicker. So it sort of gave me the confidence knowing if I'm beating these guys, then it will translate great to when I'm, you know, playing actually with girls and stuff. And it just gives you that confidence. And it was just comfortable, you know. My dad was there, my brother was there, and my mum was watching. Let me not forget my mum. She's not really sporty, but she's a great sport.
So that's like a typical mom thing. She's not into sport, but she's
Yeah,
there for you.
she'll cheer and get stressed at the games, but she won't give you many tips on how to get better.
But it's nice to have someone who's not talking basketball with you, right?
Definitely.
And especially because your dad and then your brother, I'm pretty sure they're very competitive and talking about it all the time. So having someone like your mom.
Yeah, it's just a nice break. No sports. So yeah, we can do more girly things together.
That's fun for you, I'm pretty sure. I remember you had mentioned getting your nails done with your mom.
Yes.
I assume you don't get a lot of chance to do that because you play basketball.
Yeah.
But now that you're back, are you on a break for as long as you're back in the UK, or?
Yes. We don't really. There's no leagues over the summer and stuff. It's more individual workouts and scrimmages, which I go to. But I am waiting to get my nails done with my mum, as you can see. Yeah, you have to get them short though, because playing basketball is quite hard.
No, I can really imagine that. And you know, going a bit back, talking about you getting into basketball, it's something that really fascinates me, because I would like to know, how is it that you choose or you get to playing a certain position? That because you play point guard, it's a lot of moving, it's a lot of passing, it's taking those shots, it's being a very dynamic player. How old were you when you figured out that this is what you want to do, and what aspects, if I may ask, that came more naturally to you? Like for an 8-year-old Charli, what was it then that you still have or have enhanced, if I may ask?
I think realising that me being a point guard was a thing just because of how small I am. Honestly, like, people just assume that I was a point guard because I was small and I was quick. So I could handle the ball. I could just...
She's really quick, guys.
I can, you know, drive by people. So honestly, if I was taller, I might not be a point guard, but that was sort of the position that I was put into. And things that translated, I've always been quick. That's just not changed. I've always been able to shoot even when I was little. The form was terrible back in the day, so it's gotten a little bit better now. But yeah, just honestly, just being as fast as I am still helps me playing basketball today.
That one reel on your Instagram that I sent to you, and if we could put it up somewhere on the screen, is that like trained sort of through drills, or is it something that just comes naturally to you, like weaving through with the ball and being so fast? How's that happening?
I think maybe growing up it was sort of more taught, but now it's just like second nature. Like, I don't even have to think
like muscle
about
memory.
it. Yeah, really, it's not something I'm consciously thinking of. I read the defense and see what my options are, and most of the time it is attacking and just getting by people.
Is it something that you would incorporate in other sports as well? Like if you is there any other sport that you play or?
I mean, growing up, I tried a lot of sports: gymnastics,
Wow.
football, diving, swimming, cheerleading, but none of them I really stuck with. Wasn't really good at them.
How long did you do gymnastics for, if I may ask?
Probably about 3 years. I
That's-
wasn't good though.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, don't
We're not going down that road.
I think it was like my friends did it. I was just doing it growing up. It was something to do. I hadn't really stepped foot in basketball yet. And obviously when you're growing up, you just play basketball on like a Saturday or a Sunday. You don't really practice a lot, like compared to how much I practice now. So I did have a lot of free time to try other sports. But yeah, that's about it.
But do you think that playing other sport helps with the sort of overall development of maybe instincts, reading the game? Because basketball, there's a lot of that, reading the game, because it's constantly moving, it's very fast paced. But is there any other aspects of any other sports maybe do you think that affect you or your game?
I think it definitely helps with your coordination and stuff. Like, I do enjoy playing loads of sports. Badminton, paddleball, like that's like the new upcoming
It's
sport
picking
that
up a lot,
everyone's
isn't
playing.
it?
Yeah,
Yes.
definitely. I just think because I've been involved in sport my whole life, like it just comes natural to me. Like I just love doing whatever it is. Might not be great at it, don't get me wrong, but if anything is incorporating running, like if I play football, I'll happily play a game of football. So I just think having that sporty nature sort of just keeps me involved in anything.
But do you get like competitive and
Oh yeah,
start pushing people around?
even when we're playing like mini golf or bowling as a family.
Mini
like,
golf?
Yes, like crazy golf.
Is there sledging happening in mini golf? Is there like any shit talk happening?
Oh, a lot.
Is
like everyone is there to win, no friends.
Wow.
So it is very competitive. Our family is definitely competitive.
So is there your mum sort of a melting point for people in this, or even she's involved like that?
She doesn't care as much. Like we genuinely want to win, but she'll join in, you know, talking shit to people just because we all are. But whether she really means it is a different story.
I think I'd like to have her on the podcast.
Yes.
A more calm, non-sporty podcast.
Yes, just see her perspective of it all.
But I would assume that has a great impact on you because it keeps things balanced and you have a bit of everything.
Yeah.
But coming back to other sports, you mentioned gymnastics, and I've always been very fascinated by gymnastics because I am by no means a flexible guy. But I feel I've seen people who have gotten into gymnastics in the early years, and then if they transfer into some other sport, it has a great impact in terms of flexibility, core stability. Do you think that maybe you have a certain sort of an advantage because you have that background? Has that ever like thought come in your head?
Not really. I'm not flexible at all.
Okay.
At all. Like that is something that I really lack in. I just think being in shape, like my overall shape, and you do have certain strengths, like you have strong legs, strong upper body, you know, when you're shooting and stuff, that can translate, but I wouldn't necessarily say that it's something I think about.
Now that we've talked about you playing other sport, I want to get deeper into your basketball journey. When was it that you had started representing the country?
So it was under 14s. That was when I played for England. Previously, before that, from under 12s to under 15s, I played for Northwest, which is like a regional tournament. So you have like South, Midlands, Northeast, Northwest. So it was sort of like the Greater Manchester area. So like the 12 best girls from that. So I was 12 when I started playing in that. And then 14 when I started playing for England. And I played for England under 14s, under 15s. Then COVID happened, and then under 18s, and then I played for Great Britain under 18s and under 20s.
So you got into the England setup when under 14?
Yeah.
Were you 14, 13? How old were you when you broke into that?
I think I was 14.
You were?
Yeah.
How did that happen? How did that breakthrough came about?
So playing regionally for Northwest, it sort of puts you on that pathway, you know, of playing for your country essentially, and just being recognised as one of the best girls. So then you get invited to the camps. There's probably like 30 girls and only 12 get selected for the team. So you'll do camps all summer. they'll select teams, they'll knock people off each camp. So it is a brutal process, especially when you're that young, being told you're not on the team, you got to go home. But once you're in the pathway, it's easy for you to stay in the pathway. So I played with girls at under 14s that I still played with at under 20s. Like, there was a similar group of girls, and not many new people get brought in because there's a strong emphasis on, like player development and stuff, keeping you in the pathway in the programme. But yeah, I've started at under 14s, which was really nice.
I have no idea what I was doing when I was 14, but it definitely nowhere near representing the country.
Yeah.
But you mentioned that you played till under 20s. You were in the setup for like 6-7 years. Tell me about it. How was that life? And one question specifically is, let's start off with how was that life for you, like those 5-6 years?
It's really demanding compared to like when you play for your club. It's familiar, it's not as yes coach, like strict and stuff like that. You're being scrutinised for everything that you do. Whereas, so you do have a lot of pressure on yourself to perform because, you might not get selected and play for the team. So, yeah, it's tough. It's mentally draining, You're there, your whole summer is national team. You probably do 5 different camps, travel to places in Europe. We've been to Slovenia, Slovakia, Serbia, Ireland,
Not easy countries.
Not easy countries, no.
Eastern Europe gets a bit intense.
Yes, we couldn't wear our GB stuff because there was like war going on and stuff. I was like, oh my gosh.
Sorry to cut you off, have you seen that video of Jokic in giving an interview, I think at press conference? And he was getting booed by one of the New York teams. I think it was a New York crowd. And the reporter asked him if he was intimidated. And he's just as nonchalant as he just said, brother, I've played in Serbia. And cut to, there's this video of him playing in Serbia and the Serbian crowd. That's mental.
Yeah.
It's like a European football crowd you'd see on a Champions League night. So how did you cope with that?
When we played Serbia, there wasn't anyone shorter than 6 foot. It was crazy. Like, they are ruthless. So aggressive. We was in Division B, Serbia's in Division A, so they're known for their basketball. They have top facilities. The girls are elite, so there was really tough competition for us.
Wow.
Yeah.
Was it intimidating for you?
As a 5'4" guard, yes. When I'm having to guard someone 6 foot, but it comes with the sport.
Wow, that must have been. How old are you when all of this happening?
18.
So young, and like you're witnessing all of this.
Yeah.
Do you think, Charli, that being in such a demanding environment, as you said, and then meeting these intimidating entities, personalities, people, do you think that having gone through all of that is something that maybe drew you big into sports psychology? That because you've been through it, is that what fascinated you?
Yeah, I've always wanted to stay in the sport route, even if, I wasn't playing myself. And there is a big emphasis, like, there is a lot of pressure when you play games, and it's pressure that you usually put on yourself or other people around you are expecting you to perform at a certain level. So I think me being a sports psychologist, I know that feeling. I've been in that situation before. So, for me as well, but helping other athletes understand, like, this is what I can do to calm down. It's a lot of visualization and, just positive self-talk that will, keep them calm, let them execute and stuff.
Now that you're playing for the country, was there any sort of mental coaches or any conditioning coaches that you've worked with in your playing years?
Nothing to do with the psychology, mental side. We had, S&C coaches and stuff like that, but it was never a thing that was incorporated into the pathway, which I do think they should have that, because when you're a 14, 15-year-old girl going through something like that, I think, it's always going to help. It's not going to help.
Because, because I follow cricket a lot, and then you read that there's these conditioning coaches and these mental health coaches, which I think makes so much sense, because when you're on the road so much, you're away from the family, and it's just, your life is just training. Because I think you would agree to that being an athlete, it seems all nice, showing your skills in front of a big crowd and everything, but then that's all your life. You train, eat a certain diet, you don't go out, you miss a coffee with your friends and do the same thing over and over again, and then you have to still go out and perform. And I'm pretty sure that takes a toll.
Yeah.
If you could tell me more about this from your personal experiences.
Yeah, I think you have got to take a lot of sacrifices if you are serious about doing it. You know, growing up, you can't go to the parties on the weekend, you can't go out with your friends. And when you are younger, that is a big thing, you know, socialisation and stuff. So it's just weighing out the pros and cons. Like, if I am really serious about it, then this is what I've got to sacrifice and miss out on. You know, I've been in America all year, and then the summer I'd usually want to spend it with my family, but then I have national team practice. So it's bittersweet moments, really. You know, you're sacrificing time with your friends, family, doing things that you might really want to do, but then you've got to just look at the future and like the greater purpose of what you are doing and just knowing that it is worth it.
So we've been obviously talking about your journey with Great Britain, and you just spoke about managing everything and all of that. Talk to me specifically about how it has been ever since you've moved to the US.
It's a completely different lifestyle, you know. Even not even basketball, just the way of living, everything is so much bigger. You know, it's a totally different culture. The people are different. At my school there was a lot of internationals, only 2 British people, but a lot of like Eastern European countries and stuff like that.
There has to be some Indians. We're always there, no?
No.
Wow, okay.
Hate to break it to you.
Is it?
Yeah. I mean, the football teams are usually all European or
Yeah.
like internationals, but not really.
Not even in class.
No.
Anyways, moving past that. So I could imagine, because it's a big country, massive land, massive things over there. So was there a form of surrealism or like overwhelmingness that you had, or?
The school that I went to in my first year was in the middle of nowhere.
What school was that?
It was in Missouri, Central Methodist University. The town population was 1,000.
1,000.
You're just surrounded by grass and trees and hills. You have no service. You have to drive 25 minutes to go to the supermarket. So coming from Manchester, which is a massive city, to that, bit of a shock. But you just get used to it, you know. You know every single person on campus. It's like a little mini family, essentially. Then my second year, I was in Texas, and that was like the total opposite, just hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of miles of nothing. Like nothing, just dirt and sand and hay barrels. So I think I've really had both extremes, but it's been a lot to take in. I haven't really been in like massive cities when I've been in school in America. So even just like the location of the places is something that I've had to adapt to. Even like not even the basketball side of it or school, just living.
No, because obviously the difference here would be Manchester's big city, busy city center, and obviously, as you mentioned, going there, is there any sort of like environmental difference that specifically affects your game, would you say? Is it quieter, lesser people, so does that help, or what's that like?
Not really. Even when I was at the school with a really small town population, a lot of the locals would come to the game, vice versa for both of my schools, really.
Did you become famous there, like the athlete or something?
No. So I won't really say there was a big difference, like support-wise or anything, compared to back home.
There's no difference in that, you would say?
No, not really. But when you're at school, a lot of other student athletes will come to your games, whereas when I played back home, you know, in Manchester and stuff, it's mainly just like parents and friends and family. So having the support from like the volleyball teams, the American football teams, the soccer teams, like that's what, I guess, what creates like the unity at the school.
Have you tried playing any American football?
No, I'm terrible.
No, you're
No.
not trying to be a running back.
No, oh
No.
my, I don't know how they do it. It's really impressive, but I don't have the skills for that.
You're happy without getting hit in your head.
Yeah, I don't need to lose any brain cells anytime soon.
Did you no shots at NFL? Sorry about
Yes.
that. But so have you been to any of the sports games? Because NBA is big there, NFL is big there. Do you go to any games or anything?
No, I've been to like the Division 1 like college basketball games
D1
and
basketball.
and the D1 football games. But nothing NBA or WNBA or NFL, just Division 1 really.
Now that you've brought up the WNBA, do you follow that a lot?
I do follow it a little bit, you know, it's a lot on your Instagram feeds and your
Yes.
TikToks and stuff.
Now we were just talking because there's so much of Caitlin Clark on my feed these days, and isn't she just in her second year?
Yes.
And she's been able to have such a big impact.
Yeah.
Do you like look up to anyone in the WNBA to be specific, or anyone just you admire?
I wouldn't say I look up. I kind of watch more NBA than WNBA, but it's hard not to pay attention to it when it is all, you know, on social media. She has slowly become the face of the WNBA, so it's hard not to admire what she does. I wouldn't necessarily say that I want my game to translate and look like hers,
Yeah.
but just her ability to perform at college and still put up the same numbers at the WNBA level is amazing. So I do enjoy watching it thoroughly. But I do watch more of the NBA, and mainly because it has been the finals recently, so, you know, just keeping on track with that.
Are you following it closely? The
Yes,
finals?
I am.
And what team is it that you support?
I support the Timberwolves. I don't really. I just like certain players on each team,
Yeah.
but I just like how they play, and I do enjoy watching them.
What like aspect? Because for me, I'm not big into basketball in the sense that I'd watch every game, but I'd stay updated who's winning, who's not. But someone who draws me big into the sport is Steph Curry,
Okay.
because of the way he shoots, and having watched the Olympics final,
Yeah.
with him just shooting 3-pointers with a double team on him. Is there any specific aspect of basketball, regardless of position, that you enjoy? Any, like, would it be shooting, maybe passing, maybe just dribbling or dunking? Any aspect that draws you in?
I think everybody loves being able to shoot. Like, that is probably the most fun part of the sport, and he's absolutely incredible with it. Like, even if people who don't enjoy playing basketball or aren't necessarily good at it, if they pick up a basketball, they're gonna most likely shoot the ball. So I just think that aspect is what draws me in the most, and definitely watching the guys, like the athleticism that they have and their abilities. They're a lot more agile, a bit more shifty than the girls, you know, like they are able to dunk the ball and stuff, which is obviously nice to see, because when you watch girls basketball, you hardly ever see that. So
I'm not saying anything at all, guys.
Don't want
It's
to
all
get
Charlie. It's all
cancelled.
Charlie. No, because obviously the athleticism that you've mentioned, and we were talking off camera as well about how freaky the nature of that sport is, and how basketball is just one of a kind sport. What sort of training, because you've played at a very elite level as well, what specific exercises, like, are you doing a lot of plyometrics? Is that
Yeah.
something that you're doing? Or isometric holds or anything of that kind, if you could like shed some light on that?
So I think the plyometrics do really help with, you know, like your explosiveness and stuff, lots of box jumps and like you said, your isometric holds. It's just sort of to build that muscular endurance, especially for your legs and stuff. Like, that does always help. And then with the plyometrics, with the box jumps, you know, helping your knees and your ankles, because in basketball that is a main injury that you may have. And just regular lifting, you know, you want to stay strong, you want to have a good core, strong back, strong shoulders and stuff. So I think it's like an all-round workout. You got to do your cardio as well, so it's not just one specific sort of training. You've kind of got to combine all of them together, because they all help like different aspects of the game.
Speaking of injuries and all of those things, you mentioned to me that you had an injury over the summer this time. So you broke your foot, was it?
Yes.
How did that happen?
Just overtraining. It happened during the pre-season of when I went to school, and our athletic trainer misdiagnosed me. So he said that it wasn't anything as serious and told me to continue to practice. And then I was asking to go to the doctors, so he referred me to the doctors, and then I got an MRI, and that MRI showed that I had broke bones in my foot. So I was in a boot for about 8 weeks, and then you have to start the rehab again. You just don't get out the boot and go straight to basketball. You've got to learn how to walk without pain in the boot, and then you've got to start cycling and then light jogging. Like, you can't get into contacts straight away either, like playing 5-on-5 or anything. So it is a long process coming back. It's not just getting out the boot and then going straight back to it. You know, you've got to follow protocol because you don't want anything like that to happen again.
How's the rehabilitation like?
It was okay. I went to like a centre in the doctors where they would give me like banded work and stretches and lots of hopping and stuff just to strengthen that foot back up. But I am fully healed now, which is really good. But it was just a long process, and it is hard, you know, sitting on the sidelines watching everyone else do what you essentially went to that place to do.
Tell me about this, Charlie, that when you're injured and something as significant as breaking your foot, what are you trying to do while you're injured so that you're not as far away from your peak shape when you return from injury? Like, is there any other sort of things that you're incorporating, or is it just full 100% rest?
Because it was my foot, I was still able to do like upper body and stuff, and I could go on the bike because that wasn't really putting pressure on my foot. So kind of keep my cardio doing that, and just doing upper body stuff. Obviously the legs was a bit limited, you know, I couldn't squat or apply pressure on the foot, and it is hard when you're in a boot. It's not the most stable thing. So just trying the most I could do around the injury without overdoing it. I didn't want to make anything worse.
But now, so you have recovered. How long ago was it that you fully recovered, you'd say?
Probably the end of January. So it's been about 5 months.
5 or 6 months. So what has it been since that? Have you played any in-season games or anything?
I didn't play any games this season. What they call it is a red shirt, a medical red shirt, which means you don't play, but you don't use a year of your eligibility.
Okay.
Playing basketball, because you only get 4 years of eligibility in America. So I got to keep that. But then once I was back healthy, I was able to, you know, partake in the practices. It wasn't that I came back and I didn't do anything. I got back to practicing twice a day, back in the weight room and stuff like that. So I was still part of the team, but I just couldn't help them on the court during the games.
So you're telling me that because you're a student athlete, you've gone there on a scholarship, and it's a 4-year tenure that you have. So what was that process like getting in as a student athlete? Is it your credentials? Do you go through a trial, or do the universities contact you? How is it?
It may be different for other people. Some people may get agents or whatever, but you put together like a highlight tape. So when I played for Sheffield Hatters in the WBBL, you get like footage from your games, and then you put that together, and then you sort of get like an email sort of telling them a little bit about yourself, you know, the level I've played at. I played for Great Britain and England and Sheffield Hatters. Just a bit about how I play basketball, and then you insert the highlight reel or whatever on the email. And then I just sent them out to the colleges in America, you know, like the head coach's email, and then they just get back to you. So it is a lot of rejection, or, you know, people not getting back to you, but that's really how you get the opportunity to go to the States.
How have you found it in the States so far, Shirley, in terms of the basketball, the nature of the game? Is it different from how it was for you here?
Yeah, I would say it is a lot different. They do have different rules. Whereas we have 24-second shot clock, they have a 30-second shot clock. They allow a backcourt violation that wouldn't be allowed here. We play FIBA rules, they don't. So I think it's just those small little adjustments which you don't even realise that you do have to get used to. And they are a lot more individual when they play. Whereas back in Europe, I feel like it is a bit more of a team sport. You know, everyone's making the extra pass to each other. Whereas in America, it's a lot more one-on-one, you know, stuff like that. So it is a lot to adjust to.
How are you, do you think that on a personal level, in your own head, do you think you've gotten used to it yet? Or is there some more sort of adjustment period that you need? How's that?
I think once you're there for a few weeks, you sort of just get used to it. It's not the like major adjustments, but it's you just got to find a team that accepts the basketball you play, a team that suits your play, and then just go through it with there. Whereas the shot clock, it's sort of in our advantage. Whereas we only get 24 seconds. When we go to the States, we sort of get a bit more time, you know, to get a shot off and compose ourselves. So some things, even though they're adjustments, they are helpful.
So, like, obviously you're a bit more relaxed because the timer runs for a bit longer. So would you say that now you fit in good in that system, and that when's the next season starting for you?
The pre-season starts the beginning of October, but I will get to school towards the end of August to start pre-season. So it's sort of straight back to it when you get to school. The academics start, and pre-season's usually the toughest part of the year. So just full on.
So for you, it'll be returning to the court after a while, because you said you got injured in the last pre-season and then to this one. So what sort of things are you doing in this time so that your confidence in your skill stays the same?
I think we have lots of scrimmages. So, you know, that's like 5-on-5, more game-like stuff than just working out by yourself or with someone else. So just being in that environment, a competitive environment where it's more team stuff, it's easy to translate, you know, it'll get me back comfortable playing in a game-like environment.
So you go back in August. Is it the same school that you're going back to?
I'm actually transferring to a school in Canada called the University of Saskatchewan. So that's a great opportunity for me. I actually get 4 more years of basketball eligibility there. If I wanted to use it, I don't have to use it all. But it just gives me a greater time to complete my degree and potentially get a master's within that 4 years. And their basketball program is elite. They're one of the best teams in Canada for women's basketball at the university level. And I just think as soon as I talked to the coaches, it was an immediate click. Canada actually play FIBA rules, which is what we play back here. So it is a lot like back home. You know, the style of play isn't like America, it's like back home. So I just think it's a perfect
So
fit.
you're not a big fan of the play style in the US?
No, sadly not. No.
So you're hoping that in Canada, because it's similar playing style and that you've obviously liked the coaches as well, so you think it'll be a better platform to you to...
Most definitely, yeah.
That's amazing. Now, Charlie, coming back to Sheffield and the UK, you've obviously played for Sheffield Hatters, which is a pretty big club, a pretty big name in the women's basketball circle in Sheffield. Talk to me about that experience, because you've also played with some Great Britain nationals.
Yes.
Talk to me about that.
It was a great opportunity for me to be able to play for the Hatters. It was the WBBL, it's now the SLB, which is the Super League basketball, which is like the top level of basketball in England. And over the past 2 years, it has got a lot more money funded into it. Like the players that are recruited are a lot more elite. But the opportunity that I had was incredible there. I got to play, like you said, alongside GB people like Georgia Gale and Nicolette and stuff. So learning from them, playing alongside them, you know, practicing with them every day, it does give you a deeper insight and deeper knowledge into the game and makes you better. And I was only 18, 19 at the time. So actually being able to play in those arenas against those elite teams was something that I was really grateful for.
So obviously having exposure to such players, what is it that you're trying to take away from them?
Just they've played in Commonwealth Games, Olympic Games, you know, Euro basket, stuff like that. And Nicolette especially, she was a point guard as well. So just learning things from her, how she controls the ball, you know, her awareness of the court, is just the little things that you can pick up, which will elevate your game to the next level.
I remember that the last time I spoke to you for an interview, it was we spoke about Nicole as well, how she's a point guard, and I remember you telling me she won a silver medal at the Commonwealth Games. So are you still in touch with her?
Yes.
Do you still talk about... So now that you mentioned that you're still in touch with her, did she have any sort of input in you transferring to Canada from US, or did you let her know about it?
Definitely let her know about it, because I went from Sheffield Hatters to America. But the process of me getting to a school in the States was really just me and my family. whether she may have had contacts or not was a different thing, but it was just sort of something I took upon myself, that challenge to try and get myself there.
And has she given you any sort of input on how to adapt or how to, because now you're away from your family, you're away from the people who you've played with all your life, because like your dad got you into the game and now you're not with him or anything like that. So is it that you're in touch with people from back home while you're there, so to keep like your head into the game like it has been?
Yeah, definitely. Those people have past experience of doing stuff like that, so hearing their stories and the things they've been through and the advice and knowledge that they can give to me is always helpful, especially because it was my first year going out there, and you're sort of going into the unknown when you do that. So it sort of gives you a nice peace of mind that it won't all be terrible, and there's other people who have been in my shoes before, so it's not like I'm out there by myself.
Now that before we wrap up, I want to know what you aspire to do in the season ahead, and any future plans after that. What have you thought of?
For this year, I'd say win a national championship. The team won one last year. The coach is the German women's national team head coach. She's been to 4 Olympics. She has high expectations for the players.
Wow.
And she sees me a part of that team and has put her trust into me to be a part of that. And the girls who play for that team also very elite. So that's definitely the year goal for me, to try and win the national championship. And I'd say in the future, I do obviously want to get into the sports psychology, get my master's in that. And once I've graduated, I would like to, play overseas myself, professional basketball, and then enter the career in sports psychology.
You've mentioned to me, because you had gone to play for Great Britain in, was it Romania?
Yes.
In the under-20 championships or stuff like that. And now you playing in the US and you love playing overseas. You had mentioned that you wanted to play in clubs in France or Italy or Spain. Is that something you still want to do?
Yes, most definitely. Still want to try and play overseas there, just have the opportunities. And even playing back home, it might be nice to be home for a year after I've graduated, after being away for 4 or 5 years. And like I said, the league has expanded a lot and gotten a lot more elite, so even just being a part of that would be amazing.
That sounds very interesting, because obviously it's good that you mentioned that the SBL is now getting money pumped in, and we're having a good emphasis on women's sports because it's developing, and there's automatically more eyeballs to it. I assume being in this environment, you obviously mentioned working with female head coaches. Have you worked with both male and female head coaches?
Yeah.
And is there any difference, would you say?
I guess I've had good and bad experiences with both female or male. So I wouldn't necessarily say I prefer females over males, because some haven't been that great or I haven't enjoyed being coached by them. I just think, for me, the level that the coaches have played at or coached at, that experience sort of reflects their abilities and stuff. Whereas I've had some male coaches in the States who were terrible. But I've had some male coaches in England that have been some of the best coaches I've ever had. So I think it just depends who you get in, really.
That's hilarious. And it's always such a pleasure to chat with you, because I want to say this on record that I think the first ever broadcasting gig that I did, it was at the varsity basketball game where you played for Sheffield Hatters and demolished the University of Sheffield. And I remember I was asked as the presenter, which is the player you want to interview, and I obviously didn't know your name, but I had picked for you, and you were my first ever, I think, interview on air, cut to now this. So how's it been for you in terms of media interactions? Have you ever had a favorite presenter or interviewer? You don't have to pick sides, just
you're one of one, really. I've never done anything like this. I'm so thankful that you asked me to be on your podcast. But I've not really done anything like this, so I'm a bit out of my comfort zone right now. But I hope I've been okay.
It was brilliant chatting with you, Charli, and I hope you have a good time here in the off season.
Yes, thank you.
Now that you're entering the new season, I hope all the best of luck to you, and
Thank you.
hope you stay injury free.
Yes, me
And
too.
I'm loving the Rodman shirt that you've got
Thank
on.
you.
So hope to catch up with you very
Yes,
soon. Thank you.
definitely.
This was a pleasure,
Thank
Charli.
you.
Thank you. We're still rolling, right?